And if you play like the biggest person in the world's there, if you play like you're playing to... try to think, who's a famous record producer? I can only think of Tony Visconti. So, who was a famous record producer in 1975? Yeah. So, if you play like Tony Visconti's in the audience, then then that you might get somewhere. You might not, but you'll have a better time doing it than if you put no effort in.
Hi and welcome to Big Gig Energy, a podcast by musicians for musicians, helping you get bigger gigs, no matter what level you're at. I'm your host, Steve Leggett, and with 10 years experience as a professional musician, doing everything from pubs and functions to travelling the world in a ukulele boy band, I understand that being a musician is rarely the glamorous experience people make it out to be, and that building your career up to a point where you get to go pro is about the most challenging professional leap of faith there is. But I'm going to use my experience and insight, and maybe a guest or two, to help you activate your own big gig energy and take things to the next level, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out. So, let's get to it. Well, hey, and welcome to the first Big Gig Energy interview episode. These will give you a break from just hearing my voice and act as case studies to try and unearth some pearls of wisdom from professional musicians as to how they got their biggest gigs and what helped them take the plunge to go pro, in addition to showcasing some people that I really admire and dig working with. As part of the conversations we'll be having, I'll be asking all of my guests a set of questions, and I'm hoping I'll get some wildly different answers from everyone I speak to. This week, I'll be sitting down with Cieran Miller, the lad from Bradford I started working with at the back end of 2021 with his band The Northern Groove Collective. I've since played on some recording sessions as well for his upcoming album with his originals project called Isolation Club with singer-songwriter Andy Ruddy. When I started working with Cieran, I was really struck by how he brought the same massive energy to every single gig we worked on, whether that was at Al's Duke Bar in Bradford or the main stage at a massive sports festival in North Liverpool. He's a powerhouse of a singer, an exciting performer to watch, and a really solid rhythm guitarist too. And crucially, I believe he has big gig energy. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. One quick note before we get started, there's a point in this interview where I say some quite controversial stuff about my old managers and Britain's Got Talent, which I've chosen to edit out by playing over the top of it with an ocarina. Hope you enjoy. But without further ado, let's get on to the interview. So here I am with Cieran Miller. He's a singer, he's a band leader, he's a guitarist, he's a performer extraordinaire, and he's here with us. Cieran, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey everybody. So I've been playing-ish and mainly singing for at least half of my life at this stage. In bands probably since I was about 15, maybe a bit earlier. Seriously in bands since maybe 16, 17. Various things, doing original stuff, doing covers gigs, pub gigs, doing some bigger original gigs, and I've kind of settled into the wedding scene at the minute.
Nice.
Which is fine, man. It's fine.
There's nothing wrong with weddings.
Weddings pay.
Yes.
That's the big one. Weddings pay. You need stuff. Stuff costs money, and weddings pay for it.
Too right. How many projects have you got on at the moment?
Lots. I've got my regular band Northern Groove Collective, which is a 7-piece wedding band, which you have played with.
Indeed.
I have a 4-piece version of that, which we've just come up with a name for right now, which will be revealed when I confirm it with the rest of the band. And that's going to eventually turn into like an 80s pop band, as a 4-piece rock band doing 80s pop stuff. I have my originals project with Andy Ruddy, which is Isolation Club. And I guess I play on my own sometimes.
Of course.
So between that, maybe four, including anything that I do on my own.
It's brilliant that. So of course, as part of all of these things, you've done a metric shit ton, I think is the technical term, of gigs over your career. So
a whole load, a whole load.
But what makes a big gig for you?
So for me, a big gig is any gig that you do. It's all about the mindset that you go into it with. And that mindset really exists on the basis of you could be playing to a huge producer and you don't know it. So if you put the effort in and they like it and they take that away, that's a better thing than if you put no effort in.
Too right.
And they think you're a set of wankers because you've not put any effort into the gig.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's kind of where I sat on it. My dad told me a story about how the Police made it in the US. And in Canada, they did a gig where there were 2 people in the crowd. They brought the 2 people both down to the front, introduced them to each other, introduced them to the band, and then played a blinder of a show. And one of them was the local DJ for the radio station who started spinning the record the next day, and then they broke America.
Amazing.
It's just mad. Like, you don't know who's there. And if you play like the biggest person in the world's there, you know, if you play like you're playing to... try to think, who's a famous record producer? I can only think of Tony Visconti. So, who was a famous record producer in 1975? Yeah. So, if you play like Tony Visconti's in the audience, then, then you know, that you might get somewhere. You might not, but you'll have a better time doing it than if you put no effort in.
Too right. And that's one of the reasons I asked you to be on, well, to be the first interview for the entire series, really, is that I've gigged with you in venues big and small. We've done some, we could definitely say, some very big gigs together. And we've done some very small gigs together.
We've had gigs together.
Too right. But you've brought the same energy to all of them. You've
got to do. And you work on the same basis, playing the bass behind your head and jumping around a lot. And for me, it's like, I grew up watching Rod Stewart chuck microphone stands round. So I'm always looking for a microphone stand that's light enough to throw in the air. And you can't buy them. I don't know what they're made of, but like, you can't buy them. You get these big fucking steel things. And you still like chuck it up and upside down and throw that around. But yeah, like, that's kind of where I sit with it. And I see like videos, people take videos and I watch them. I'm like, I've kind of developed a prowl. I've taken a prowl on recently. It's like prowl around the stage.
Signature. But that's confident. That's like when you see like a tiger like in his thing at the zoo, and he's sort of like, well, I'm only in this small enclosure, but I own this shit because I'm a tiger.
To a point, and kind of to that point, you know, when like caged animals are going a bit crazy and they march the same line.
Yeah.
That's more like what I'm like.
Stage size dependent.
That's it, man. Just that those few steps forwards, turn, and backwards, and turn, nice. And just like, but groove, always like live in what everything is sounding like. Be aware of everything. I wear in-ear monitors, but only ever wear one, so I've got the sound of the band, which is always a nightmare because if I wore two, I could turn it down because it's never the one that isn't in that rings, because most of the band tend to play, I can't really say it's a silent stage because we've got monitors firing back and everything, but most of the band are tending to play quieter with all the sound going out the front, and then I have my in-ear jacked right up, so I go home and it's the side of with the in-ear in that's ringing at the end of the night.
Yeah, I have
always.
Anytime I do bandioki, it's the same because you have to have the sort of the original guide track for the karaoke going on in your ears, and then you've obviously got the sound engineer making comments about whoever's singing at the time. But you have to absolutely crank it because if somebody's singing Proud Mary like 2 tones out of key and 4 bars behind the rest of the band and the music, you really need to not hear them. So I have to just have both in and on ear bleed volume to block it out.
Yeah, you're not listening to what they're doing. You're just going for it. Absolutely. No, I've only done bandioki once, and it was under duress because I don't like doing karaoke because it's not for me.
Yeah,
it's not my, that's not my turn. People pay me to sing because when people say to me, "What do you do?" "Oh, I sing." Sing a song for me then. Oh, fucking pay me. That's where I live on that. Oh, pay me. So yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, I got pushed into bandioki. In Manchester, and kind of said to the guys, right, I don't want to do any of the songs that are on this list. Do you do Never Too Much by Luther Vandross? And I went, yeah, we could do that. I said, okay, right, so we'll go twice around the intro, then Just Follow Me.
Nice. And
grab the mic, grooved around the stage, and at the end of the night the keyboard player was like, do you reckon you could come in depth for us? I never heard from him after that, but I would have been quite keen to go in depth with him. A good band.
Really, it's the thought that counts, isn't it?
Absolutely, and their kind of first step keyboard player has played with Northern Groove as well at this stage. He was on the gig that we did in Huddersfield.
Tom. Bonfire Night.
Yeah, really nice guy, and a great keyboard player as well. It's good to know good people. I think that's the main thing.
You've got to build up a road, particularly you'll know this as a band leader. You've got to sort of have a Rolodex on
absolutely
of all the good players.
We need a drummer. Okay, here we go. We'll look for a drummer. Usually it goes Greg Gallagher, first choice. And then Tom Monk is now a good choice. There's a guy in Bradford, Sean Bartle. He's a fantastic drummer. I'll be missing out people and upsetting people, but
going to say there's some names missing by omission.
Absolutely,
there,
but
that's the joy of knowing so many great people. Is that it's just like you're spoiled for choice sometimes once you know the good ones.
Well, we've got technically 4 decent drummers in the band, and the bass position is kind of a rolling whoever can do the gig. But we've got the regular drummer Travis, we've got the keyboard player Joe, and also Thomas, who is the bass player when he's available from London, who's doing a fucking drum degree in London, and also Simon, who's the percussion player. He's a great drummer as well. Not convinced he's got a drum kit anymore, but he's a great drummer.
Indeed.
Si's dad has played drums with us before.
No way.
Yeah, he sat in for a few when I think Trav missed a gig and Si was on drums, and then we did a bunch of Elton John songs.
Oh, and, quality, yeah.
Tim Gilroy came and sat in on the drums, and that was good, really good do.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
So looking back at gigs you've done across your career, obviously they're all big gigs and you've treated them as big gigs, but like, what is the sort of objectively biggest gig you've played? Like when you look back and you think, yeah, that was a belter.
We, before we were just doing the wedding stuff, we were going out as DMA, not the DMAs. They came after us, which I'd just like to... But they came out around the time that we launched our second album, which was fucking annoying. Because we rebranded, so the band was Do Miss America. We rebranded completely to DMA, like changed everything. You can't re-change things once you've got your Facebook page and everything and rebranded the whole thing. You can't rebrand it for 6 months, and it must have been like a few weeks after that. The DMAs came out.
It's a swine, that.
Fucking people call it. So we booked the DMAs. We're like, fuck it, haven't. We sound nothing like them.
Yeah.
And we're all from Bradford. But no, the band that we were doing, DMA, at the time, we released the second record and got on one of the sell a bunch of tickets gigs with Alabama 3.
Oh, yeah.
Who, for anybody who doesn't know Alabama 3, firstly, listen to Alabama 3. Exile on Cold Harbour Lane is a great record. But yeah, we got on a gig with them down in Brixton. So we took the Bradford minibus crew, 2 minibuses full of people from Bradford.
Excellent.
And it was really good. And we just, we played a half-an-hour show, and it was just great. Really enjoyed it.
Those are great gigs where you sort of go on and you sort of, you get the tickets to sell and all this sort of thing. And then
it's a nightmare, though. It's a nightmare. Like, because you're collecting money from people who say, yeah, I'm really keen, and then they're not, and then they can't come.
Yeah.
But you've booked 2 minibuses based on the fact that you're taking 40 people that have said, yeah, we'll come.
Yeah.
Or however many people, yeah, we'll come. And then 3 people drop out, and you're like, well, fuck, I'm 45 quid down at this stage. Like,
yeah.
I'm paying for this fucking minibus. We're making no money, you know?
The curse of originals, isn't
Honestly, nightmare. But no, it was a good gig, a really good gig. And there were quite a few bands on as well, so there were quite a few people there. And because of that, we had a great crowd. Obviously, we'd done Rent a Crowd a little bit as well, so that worked very much in our favour. But yeah, it was just on. It was one of those nights, we're just on. Everything hit.
Yeah.
And it was good that we could kind of launch the record, because we'd not released it at the time, so we kind of rushed the production of the albums to be able to sell them on the night.
Of course.
And then we did a little mini launch there, and then did a bigger launch back home.
Brilliant.
Probably a few weeks after.
Because they're quality albums as well. I've listened to. They're really well written, well crafted. Even though they're obviously quite a few years old now.
Yeah.
They've really stood up.
It's weird listening to them now because it's so far away. You know. I think the first album, the last track that I wrote for it, we demoed the whole thing, and everybody went on holiday, apart from me, and I wrote the last track while I was there and played it to Andy, who's in Isolation Club, who played on that record as well. And he's like, man, you've got to record this. This has to go on the album. And I was like, yeah, but we've already demoed the whole album, because it doesn't fucking matter. You need to put this on there. So, so I kind of demoed it with Andy, sent it to the band, and was like, right, this is going on. Here we go. And it worked really well. The whole thing was good, but like I say, so far away that was 2011 that we wrote that.
Yeah.
So we're sort of 12 years out at this stage, and it feels like covers in a way.
Yeah.
So I can play those songs on my own, and they don't feel like my songs anymore.
I get you, because it was a very different person. That
Yeah,
wrote them
exactly.
to
Really
Cieran
weird.
I'm speaking to now.
Exactly. Really, really strange. And it's also really strange when you've got people singing words that you wrote back at you.
Yes.
I find that odd.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen very often,
Yeah.
but occasionally it does.
Yeah.
And that's that song Georgia, that was the last one, was kind of the one that took people a little bit off of the first record, and that's one that I'll still play now. And when I play that, if the particular people are in the audience and I see them singing, I'm like, this is weird.
That's an amazing
this
feeling.
is weird.
That is an amazing
This
feeling.
10-year-old song. But yeah, no, it's it's a nice song. I like listening to it. I like playing it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quality. But obviously, your current originals project, Isolation Club. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so me and Andy went to school together. We were best mates at school. Started in a band, maybe aged 15, lying about our ages so we could play in pubs.
As you do.
And we were kind of the first ones to do it. Andy had a PA system, which was very useful.
Essential, some might say.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly at that age. So we did a few original stuff. Well, we did original stuff with Strays. Then Andy moved to London to do some music stuff, so that kind of fell apart, and we always chatted but never really hung out because we never saw each other because neither of us had any time. And the back end of 2017 we got together at his mum and dad's house, who'd moved from Bradford up to just outside Glasgow, and we wrote a couple of songs over 2 days. We thought, this is good. That was the end of 2017. A year and a bit went past, where again we had no time, nothing at all. And 2019, sort of the Easter, we wrote another 2 songs. We thought, right, great, EP. That was in an afternoon as well. So we'd done 2 songs in 2 days, then 2 songs in an afternoon, and they were all good. And we're like, oh, this is really easy. We don't have any time, and we kind of put it down to the fact that time pressure makes us work better, because we're like, right, we've got this amount of time, we need to be productive, and we're super productive.
Amazing.
So we did that, and the EP that we wrote, we recorded that, got it all done, a few days at Prospect Studios in Bradford, and Andy went off to do a co-write with somebody the day after we'd finished, and then we did another co-write session the day after that and wrote 2 more songs, both of which, one of which I think is the best song we've got. So we had to chat about it. We're like, right, well, we've got these 4 songs, and we've got another 2, and we'll just see what we can do. And Andy had loads of different things on at the time. Like, I don't really write on my own. Andy's prolific, and I just don't.
More of a team player for that.
Yeah, and I've got to the point where I don't enjoy it.
Okay.
I don't enjoy the experience of, no, that's rubbish. No, that's rubbish. And occasionally something lands and you write it in 15 minutes. But if it don't happen in 15 minutes, it just goes, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that.
That's interesting.
So I don't enjoy the experience of writing on my own. So I'm like, right, let's get together and co-write. And I think there's a level of trust that me and Andy have just built up naturally over a long time. I'm trying to work out in years. A long time, more than 15 years at this point.
But that happens with friendship, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You sort of get to a point, you know someone that well, you can almost, it's not that you can second guess them, but when they say something, it feels very familiar
But
already.
you know what it is? It's more the fact that one of us can have an idea, the other one can go, no, that's rubbish, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody's got hurt feelings about
There's no
it.
egos involved.
Exactly. Because, and it's more often than not, we just like fall about laughing at something shit and stupid. But yeah, so that's kind of how we work. We really hammer into things, throwing everything at the wall because we don't have to hold anything in. It's like, no, I can't say that because that's stupid, that's rubbish. So every idea happens, and some shit ideas lead to some good things happening, because you're like, I get where you're going with that. You've not got it quite where we need to be, so let's shape that into what it needs to be. Whereas if I was doing that on my own, that'd go, no, that's rubbish, and then the guitar would go down, and I'd go out of the room. So it works really well. But yeah, so we got to these 2 new songs. Like, right, okay. Andy was doing other stuff. Had another couple of albums to release, because that's what he does. He releases albums like they're going out of fashion. And we didn't have any time to do anything again. But the plan was, we've got 6 songs. Let's write another 4 and get a record. And fine, done.
Great.
Then we entered a song for Yorkshire competition with a song called Now Then, which we were thinking, it's a grand prize that'll probably cover the back end of what we need to pay for recording. We'll never win it, we'll never win it. We got into the last 4 though, and that was unexpected, and it kind of forced us into announcing this little quiet writing project that we had, and that came up, and we came up against a school and a choir. So I'm like, well, we're fucked. We're not going to win this.
Yeah. It's like when you're on Ep.5 or not Britain's Got Talent, you see up against a dancing dog and a kid, and you're just like, well, I'm going to lose to a dog, aren't I? Here,
absolutely. Did you do Britain's Got Talent?
Our managers tried to force us to with Ukebox. There was this whole thing where which is why I didn't want to do it.
We'll have to censor that.
I'll bleep a lot of stuff out.
Yeah. Highly censored before we all get sued. Yes. Allegedly.
I'll just say for the record that Britain's Got Talent is a great organisation. They do great work, and they have done fantastic work for the music industry in this country.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
But yeah, so we did the Now Then. We released that. Drummed up a real load of interest locally. And it went pretty well. We're really happy with it. That's on Spotify if anybody wants to go and listen to that. Isolation Club, Now Then. It's a dreadful picture, but it is what it is.
I'll be linking it in the show notes along with all the other stuff mentioned.
That's it. And then we polished off the album. We wrote another 4. Again, over the course of 2 writing sessions. 2 in one day, 2 in another. It's really weird because Andy comes up with so much, and he'll fire things through on voice notes, and he'll fire the same thing in 50 different ways.
Right.
And I'll hear something on way 2, and it'll stick for me. Oh. So we got to this song 2.5, and Andy had been fucking about with it for ages, and he changed it, and it had been on guitar, it had been on piano, it had changed structure, and it was just an afternoon. We had the first time we actually got together, sat down with it, 2 guitars, going through it, and we just did it. And 20 minutes, and that was something that had been kicking about for 6-8 months. Wow. That 20 minutes of just being together with the ability to kind of bounce off each other. It's insane how that worked.
It sounds a bit like you almost act as a bit of a filter then. If
I think I probably am.
Firing ideas and you're going, that one's gold, let's do it.
Yeah, and I've told him a few times that he's fired an idea. I say, yeah, that's great, but it's not us.
Nice.
And I'm quite comfortable with saying that's not us. There's a few things, like on Different Kind of Love, Andy had the chorus, completely, like, start to finish had the chorus. And I showed him a thing that I had on guitar, and it's so weird, like, how things sort of just seem like fate.
Right.
And the reason that I say that is because this guitar was tuned to D standard, because I've been playing Gaslight Anthem songs.
Of course.
So it was tuned to D standard, and I'd got the intro riff for Different Kind of Love, what became the intro riff for Different Kind of Love, that I'd just been noodling around with, and it just happened to fit over what Andy got. The only reason it did was because it was in D standard.
Right.
Because it wouldn't have fit if it was in standard tuning. It would be in a different key.
Oh, serendipity.
It's so weird, man. It's so weird how that just sort of lands. So that one, that's a strong song. yeah, really happy with that.
I'm really excited for this album because obviously vested interest to declare here. I have played
you did
session bass on a couple of tracks.
As did your brother.
As did my brother.
Yeah, we've got the brothers Leggett. We get your sister involved somehow as well.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Get her on keys for something.
Just come down.
Yeah.
Come down so we can have the whole family Leggett on there.
But I'm genuinely excited to share it because it's such a great project. The quality of the songwriting and the quality of the recordings, and obviously Luke at Prospect's done such a fantastic job of producing it.
Yeah, we're just in a bit of a remix of those early songs now, because obviously with it taking such a long time of recording in bits, the newer stuff sounds so much different to the older stuff.
Right.
So I got the first couple of remixes back end of last week, and they sound really good. It's like just everything's got a little bit more space than it did before.
Oh, nice.
It sounds a little bit bigger, and then obviously it'll go off and get mastered and sound really loud.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand mastering. Just turning it up.
I'm sure it's more than just turning up the volume.
Sorry, Joe, if you're listening.
But you want that consistent sound across the whole project. You don't want track
That's
to track.
it. So it is going to take the time to do a remix on the whole thing, really, to make sure it does all sound, balanced and right across the board. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it coming out.
That's excellent. So I guess we'll finish off with a question I like to ask people just to sort of get an insight into their mind and where they are currently. In that, recommend us an album. This doesn't have to be your favourite album, doesn't have to be your opinion of the best album of all time, just an album you think people should check out right now.
So a guy that I discovered a few weeks ago, Marshall Crenshaw, his debut album, he is just great. He's so good. He's somewhere between like Elvis Costello and the Cars and kind of the new wave stuff, but also Buddy Holly. Okay. So he's got all of that going. And he wrote My Favourite Waste of Time that Owen Paul did.
Oh, nice.
Hit with.
Yeah.
I need to list that for the 80s band.
Excellent, yeah.
But that's such a cool song, it's such a cool song. And he's just really good. He's really, really good. And the record, I kept expecting to hear Duff songs, and the worst song on it is like a 7 out of 10 song. Like it's just a straight blues.
Yeah.
But everything else is a bit weird and a bit clever, and the way that he kind of works the words in and he changes, and like there's half bars here, and it's just it's really, really cool. And I did a bit of digging, and he is a big influence of the guy from Gin Blossoms, who are another band that I absolutely love. And there's another album, Congratulations, I'm Sorry, and also New Miserable Experience. The first two Gin Blossoms albums are great, yeah.
Oh, quality. Because I was impressed listening to it, because I remember going through and going, this sounds a bit like Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty. And then I looked at the date and it came out like 5-6 years early. I think Full Moon Fever was 87 and this was 83?
82, I think.
82.
Yeah. But it is nice. It's very... It's because he played a lot of electric 12-string on it.
Right.
So the whole thing has that kind of jangly 12-string sound, which has become my favourite thing.
Right.
And it's become my kind of thing, really. Like I bought a Taylor 12-string at the start of last year, and it's just great. I've acquired a new 12-string since then as well, a Fender 12-string. That's beautiful as well. That was a bequeathal. Is that a word?
It is now.
It is now. It was bequeathed.
Words are like jazz. If you use them twice, they're a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. It's a lick. So it was bequeathed, but it's lovely. Again, and a completely different sound as well. They sound totally different, and it's just great. It's so nice having loads of guitars, as you well know.
Absolutely.
It's just not nice having no space.
So what is it? What is it specifically about the sound of a 12-string that you're drawn to?
It's just jangly. It's just a great word.
Yeah.
But it is. It's just jangly. And it's shiny and bright. And I mean, a lot of the reason that I bought the acoustic 12-string was to play Rod Stewart songs from the 70s.
Got you.
And I've done that and I've enjoyed it. But generally, I just think they sound really cool and they sound really full and big. I joke about not being any good on guitar, and I'm like passable, and I'm improving. I've got my strap back, and I'm enjoying playing that. and I can play some semblance of like scales at this stage.
That's good. That's good. Got to start somewhere.
And I know a shitload of chords, but the when I could play like a bit, you know, I played a 12 string. I was like, this is fucking great. I sound good. I sound good. So I always thought I'd really like a 12 string because I'd sound good. And now I can play a bit, and I do sound good.
That's great. Have you ever tried a Rickenbacker? Obviously, you like the jangle thing, and they are known for their jangly sounds. So
I've never tried a
Yeah.
Rickenbacker. They're just expensive, man.
They are.
That's the problem.
They really
with that.
are.
I don't play enough electric guitar to like give good enough.
You mean you can't immediately justify dropping $4,000 on a?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Something you have to wait. What is it? 2 years? I think the waiting list at the moment. Yeah. It's a long ass waiting list.
I like those £120 Knoxville ones from Gear for Music.
The affordable ones.
That's the affordable, not cheap ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm looking, and then I'll rebrand it. And so it doesn't look like I bought Gear for Music guitar.
Stick your own brand on it.
That's it. The lion.
Yeah.
Stick the lion mark on it. Absolutely.
The Miller line. Yeah, that'd be good. And you know it's free salmonella then as well.
Oh man, if there was ever a bombshell to leave this podcast on, that might have been
and on that note, Cieran Miller, thank you so much for coming on Big Gig Energy.
No worries. I'll bring Andy next time.
Too right. Take it easy, man.
Take it easy, man.
Well, there we have it. Thanks so much again to Cieran Miller for joining us here. That was a really interesting talk, especially given how many projects Cieran has on the go at the moment. And we didn't even get started on his Thin Lizzy obsession and his tribute band for them. I'll, of course, be including links to everything relevant in the show notes. So all the things that we've mentioned, all the various projects, all the bands, everything that's going on is going to be in there. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Big Gig Energy podcast. This is the bit where I'm obliged to fish for engagement and stuff, so you can find me on Instagram as Big Gig Energy, that's BIGGIGENERGY, or you can get in touch via email at biggigenergy@gmail.com. I'll link anything relevant in the show notes below, but otherwise, if you've had any thoughts on this episode or would be interested in some one-to-one coaching for yourself and or your band, feel free to get in touch. Otherwise, do all the usual social media stuff, I guess, and let's keep the discussion going. Many thanks as ever to all my supporters and collaborators, and as always, best of luck with your next big gig.